Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What You Watching Wednesdays, right here on the Hollywood Critics Association Facebook page, YouTube channel, Twitch page, and Twitter page. One day, I have to go through all of the feeds and actually figure out which two I want to stick with moving forward, but we'll do that after Saturday. I am very excited, as always, to have some human interaction in my life, even if it's only twice a week now. And we have someone who has been on the show before and someone who is new to the show. So I want to actually start off with the person who is new to the show, and that is Heather Wixson. Hi, Heather.
Hello. Hey, how's it going?
Good. So really quick, how we open up the show is we basically talk a little bit about ourselves, what you do, and where they can find you.
Oh, okay. So I am the managing editor of dailydead.com. I also do some writing over at Fangoria. I don't do Facebook just because I don't believe in it anymore. But you can find me over on Twitter at the Horror Chick. And yeah, I basically cover mostly like horror, sci-fi, sort of what I call genre adjacent, which is sort of my loose title I give to anything that I want to cover for fun. But yeah, I've been doing this for about 13 years now, and been a member of HCA now for about a year, and it's been awesome.
Thank you. Lucky to have you. Very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin, over to you. Where can the peeps find you?
I write for Edge Media Network. I've written for them. I've really discovered. I thought about this last night. I've been there for 10 years. It's an LGBTQ news network. I do film and theater and stuff for them. Been with the HCA for about a year as well. Facebook I don't give out. Instagram, you could find me Syros93, which is SYROS93. And I do have a Twitter account. I just don't use it that often. I know I need to get better about that to post my reviews there. So if you do go there, it's Writer Guy LA.
Twitter is where it's at, Kevin.
I know, but I don't like it.
I don't like it. Listen, I don't like the drama of it. Well, I don't like the drama of it. That's what kills me. That's what kills me about Twitter, because I like what the format is and I like how it works. I just don't like the drama, especially in our little community of people. I just cannot.
Yeah.
Heather, you do a good job of staying out of it, but every once in a while, I know you had an incident we won't bring it up, but like you had an incident a couple months ago, and it was just like, come on, people, like, stop.
Yeah, it's really tough, because I think the problem is with Twitter. I mean, I think with any social media is like there's no place for nuanced discussion. So everybody sort of talks in absolutes. Everybody talks over everybody. And it's just not productive. So today alone, there's been a whole lot of kerfuffle, is the polite word to use for stuff going on in the horror circles. And, you know, I don't want to speak either way, because frankly, I'm so tired. Everything going on, I'm like, oh, we have this too. But it just, you know, I think the thing is, it's like nobody wants to listen to each other. And that's the big problem, I think, for me. So I try to sort of stay out of things as much as I can. But if I see people, you know, being needlessly cruel to people like that, I don't tolerate. Like it just, you know, I don't stand for that. But yeah, it's really tough, because it's like I want to be supportive, and I try to be supportive, but I also want to try to be better about seeing things that maybe I don't understand from my own experiences. You know, and I just think if more people did that, I think maybe there'd be a little better understanding. But yeah, every day there's like a new Twitter drama, and I'm just like, okay, I just kind of log in and log out real quick.
Yeah. That's kind of how my approach is too right now. Especially with everything else going on. I feel like there's so much more going on in the world right now, and things that are more important. Like, as much as I know people are so hardcore into film as we all are, you just sometimes you got to be like, that's not really important right now. I need to step back. Anyway, that was a little Twitter rant, apparently, to open up the show.
my old lady Twitter rant for the day.
So again, if you're new to this show, it's such a difficult concept for most people. I basically say, "What you watching?" multiple times throughout the show, and then whoever's name I say after that, they talk a little bit about a show or a movie they've been watching. So very complicated show this is. So to kick things off, Kevin Taft, what you watching?
The first thing I'll talk about is this TV show on Amazon Prime called Tales from the Loop. It started in April. It's about 8 episodes. There it is. And what's interesting about it is I watched one episode on a Friday night. The score is by Philip Glass and another composer. So it's a little too relaxing for a second. So I actually fell asleep. And I was like, I'm not going to watch the show. And then my roommate actually watched a couple more episodes. He's like, don't bother. But for some reason, something told me I should watch it. So I went back and I continued to watch it. And I fell in love with it. Like, in fact, I rewatched the first episode last night. It's about this. It's based on these books by, I have to look him up, Simon Stellenhog. But he does these, they're almost like art books. So every page is a painting and there's a little bit of text that goes along with it. And what it basically is that the show is about this town in, I think it's Iowa, where the main kind of job or work environment for the town is something called the Loop, which is underground, and it's based around this big circular object called the eclipse. And they use the eclipse, which they found, to investigate different type of strange abnormalities or anomalies in physics and things like that. And there's kind of remnants of these studies throughout the landscape of this town. So each episode is kind of individually about different people and something a little bit, not paranormal, but unusual that they either discover or they find. So there's like time travel or robots, things like that. But there is a through line through the whole show with this one family. And I'll tell you, by the last episode, it was kind of like 6 Feet Under, where it ends and you're crying, and like they've shown this epic journey of this one family. But it's Jodie Foster was quoted as saying, it's a film lover's TV show. It's shot beautifully. The soundtrack is gorgeous. The actors are great. Jonathan Pryce is in it. Rebecca Hall's in it. And it takes its time. It doesn't rush through things. It's not some big over-the-top sci-fi show. It's very subtle. And you have to kind of pay attention. Like, don't look at your phone while you're watching it. But I really loved it. In fact, I think I'm just going to keep on watching it again this week because I loved it so much.
All right. So has anyone else seen this show?
I haven't actually. I didn't even realize, like, because I remember getting the press release for it, and I didn't realize, like, just from sort of the title that it was sort of sci-fi. But I'm super intrigued now. I just haven't had a chance. Like, I'm starting to finally kind of catch up on series and stuff. That sounds badass.
It's so good. I want to know what you think. The first episode, somebody else said they watched the first episode too, and they were still like, second episode hooked me. Completely hooked me. Yeah.
First episodes
like
are
Hollywood.
tough.
So it's like Hollywood, where the first like 2 episodes you're kind of like, what is this? And then you're like, after you get into it, you're like, oh, I'm really hooked.
It kind of weirdly was into that right away. I do not like Ryan Murphy shows at all. But for some reason, I think I was just in the mood. I'm like, oh, Hollywood, yeah.
Well, no, whenever now it's become like the thing. I feel like if you watched anyone's like Twitter feed or Facebook posts during Hollywood, it was like everyone's like, I watched the first episode. I don't really get it. And then like everyone would comment like, wait till you get to episode 3 or 4. So that's why like when you said that about this show, I was kind of like, oh, it's like Hollywood. So the first episode, you're kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. But then you build on it.
Yeah.
Is it like the OA?
First of all, the OA is brilliant, and I loved it so much. And I'm really sad that it's gone. No, yes and no. It's that subtle sci-fi.
Yeah.
And it's very emotional sci-fi, Tales from the Loop. It's actually unlike anything I've ever seen. And what's weird is when you watch it, or maybe after you watch it, go look at pictures from the book that this guy made. They literally captured to a T his paintings. It's incredible. The set design is amazing.
All right, we'll add it to the queue. All right, Heather, what's your first what you watching pick?
So I've been kind of digging into the first season of Snowpiercer because that premieres Sunday, and so I've been kind of starting to watch a few of those episodes, and I think it's really interesting because I'm a big fan of the original graphic novel and sort of its sequels and the prequel. But I love the fact that, as much as I love Bong Joon-ho's movie that came out, it was like 2013 or 2014. I'm doing that totally from memory. What I like about this is that it definitely has obviously the sort of the same bones as what you would expect. It's got a train, class system, and all these different things. And yet, because it is a TV series and we're going to get 10 episodes, they're really opening things up in a way I wasn't expecting. In fact, the sort of the driving force, at least for the first few episodes so far that I've seen, is the fact that there's a murder mystery. And there's a murder that takes place sort of in the upper echelon of the train. So it's not just, on the tail end of things, which is interesting because you think, the rich people, they've got everything they need. Why would they be murdering people? So I think for me, that's been sort of very intriguing. It's interesting because I actually didn't even realize that this sort of had a lot of issues going into it. I know I've been waiting for it for a few years now. And I'd love to see what the original version of this was, but I like the version we're getting too. And I think it's got some fantastic performances so far. Jennifer Connelly rules. Not that I didn't think she would, but she is absolutely fantastic. And I have to say, I'm not even, this sounds really terrible, but I'm not even a Hamilton person. I've never seen it, never experienced the music. But Daveed Diggs, who I know comes from that world, if I'm not mistaken, is really fantastic. And he's sort of the driving force in this. And I've been enjoying it so far. I was really kind of nervous because I love the movie so much and I really do enjoy the graphic novels, but I wasn't sure how it was going to come out as like sort of a serialized drama. But it's good stuff so far. There's some pretty gnarly things too. So it's kind of cool.
So I want to comment on this. I honestly cannot even remember when the conversation started about this being turned into a TV show because I feel like
I want to say 2015 was like when I first heard about it.
It went through so many different delays, and I mean, people came on and dropped off and on and off, and I kind of lost track. So it was actually funny because when I asked you to come on the show and you said Snowpiercer, I said, oh, she's going to talk about the movie. And then I was like, oh, there's a show that's finally coming out.
I know. I covered it at Comic-Con last year. Like, it's been that long. And they were like, hold your coverage until the show comes out. I'm like, I don't know where those videos are now. Like, you're talking almost a year ago. And I think the first press release I got for it was sometime in 2017. And like I said, I know it went through some issues. I think Scott Derrickson was the original director, like full-blown director. And I think he had some issues with the producers and didn't want to come back for the reshoots. And so basically then they brought in a different director to sort of retool everything. And I'm curious because I'd love to see the Scott Derrickson one because I'd love to see if the retooled version is what feeds into what comes after, or if Scott Derrickson's would have also worked with where the story heads, and because I watched 2 through 4 also. Okay. So I watched through episode 4. So I'm just curious, like how that would have fit. But yeah, I mean, it's like I was kind of cautiously optimistic for it, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's got a little melodrama to it, but there's definitely sort of the class warfare thing. It also kind of opens up some sort of sexual politics that I wasn't expecting. There's sort of this one area on the train that's all about like sort of the freaky leakies kind of people, which I wasn't expecting. I was like, well, I don't want my mom to watch this then. But it's good. It's got some really good performances. But like I said, Jennifer Connelly, like I die for her. So she's doing it. She's doing a good job.
Okay. Kevin, did you hear of this show? Have you watched any episodes? Did you get the screening links?
No one sent me screening links.
Oh no!
I know, but I want to watch it. I like the movie, and I like Jennifer Connelly, so I'm going to check it out. In fact, when you said you were reviewing it, I'm like, wait, it's out? And I got like, oh, I'm going to watch it tonight. Apparently not.
Yeah, it starts this Sunday, so I think it's Sunday at like 9 Eastern. I think that's maybe when it runs.
So you get some early sneak peek right here on What You Watching. All right, so for me, Kevin has joked with me about this now, and I have said this on this show, and I've said this publicly. I am usually not a television person, but thanks to the coronavirus, I have watched a lot of series, and every time a new one comes out, if it piques my interest, I've been watching them. So I talked about a whole bunch of them. I think like 2 or 3 episodes. I've been talking about TV shows more than movies, which is, again, very strange. But I want to talk about another TV show that I watch. And of course, it's also on Amazon Prime, and it's called Upload. Now, Upload is this crazy, wacky comedy, science fiction, satire, drama that is created by Greg Daniels, who you probably know from Parks and Recreation and also The Office. He also has a new show that's coming out on Netflix called Space Force, which I just got the screening links for, so stay tuned for that review in the weeks to come. And it's basically a futuristic society. I think the year is 2033. And it follows Robbie Amel's character, and he's Nathan Brown. And he winds up getting into an accident, and he passes away. And when he goes into the hospital, they give him an option to either die and, just die, or he can choose to upload and choose his own life adventure. And his girlfriend at the time forces him into being part of this upload program. So he gets uploaded, and there's a lot of love stuff and yada, 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 a lot of different things. So I have mixed feelings on this show, especially as someone who is a big fan of The Office and Parks and Recreation. I feel like tonally it's a little bit of a mess. Like sometimes, like when it thinks it's funny, it's really not that funny. Sometimes when it's dramatic, it's kind of a little bit too over the top. And then I get a little lost in the satire outside of the fact that like they reference like Twitter and stuff like that in companies, like, same thing like Idiocracy and stuff like that. It was a weird show, but I have to admit that there was something about it that even though I wouldn't say I love it, that I kept watching it. And like I finished it, and I was kind of like left at the end of the first season, and it ends on a cliffhanger. And I was like, all right, I'll watch season 2. Even though I didn't love it. But I will say that Robbie Amell, as well as the girl, and I think her name is Allegra. No, that's not. That's the girlfriend. I'm trying to think who the main girl is in the show. I can't remember her name, which is sad. But she makes the show for me. She is honestly who makes the show. And I think her and Robbie's chemistry is the reason to watch this show. There's some great ideas there. I just wish, and I hope that in the second season, it gets fleshed out a little bit better. No one has seen this show based on the reaction, I'm guessing.
I've seen the commercials a lot, which we actually had a discussion about, like, well, would you die or would you want to go virtual? And I definitely would want to go virtual. Like, I want to live forever. So, give me, I think it's a cute idea too. I think it's interesting. It's like a way to sort of deal with something really heavy, but sort of do it in a non-confrontational way, it seems like. And I'm also a sucker for talking dogs, which I've seen in the commercial. So
yes. There is a talking dog, and my dog barks at the talking dog. So
does he really?
It makes it a very enjoyable experience to keep saying, shh, I want to hear what they're saying. And the girl's name who I'm talking about is Andy Alayo. I think that's how you pronounce it. And she plays the character Nora Anthony in the show. She's phenomenal. I've never seen her before in anything, but I think she's really good. Again, I don't know if I can fully recommend this show, but like, again, you're at home. It's short. Like that's another thing for me. Like it's like each episode's like 26, 27 minutes. It's a quick watch. So you'll be done in like 2 or 3 days even if you're just casually watching it. I think it's interesting enough that I would give it like a slight recommendation.
It's like, what else you got going on?
That's pretty much it. All right, we'll go back to you, Heather. What's your second pick?
Well, I joked with you because I've been watching a lot of older stuff lately. So for a project, I've been doing some Nightmare on Elm Street stuff. And I've also been super obsessed again with Melrose Place, of all things. But I actually, I would say probably something that's current. I've been very much enjoying season 2 of What We Do in the Shadows. Just as somebody who absolutely loves the movie, I wasn't sure going into season 1 how I would feel about following new characters and kind of no pun intended, or maybe a little pun intended, revamping things with new characters. And by episode 2, like you were kind of saying with Hollywood, like I was completely hooked. And this season so far has been fantastic. But I have to say that the episode that they just did this week, which was Colin's promotion, was absolutely probably one of the best episodes of TV that I've seen in some time. Like we had to pause it because we were laughing so hard. Like I was crying laughing. And I don't remember the last time a TV show did that. And I think it's a really interesting way to sort of make vampires new again. Again, with Colin, the character of Colin Robinson, him being an energy vampire, it's something that had never been done before in vampire like mythology ever. And to see them explore it like sort of on the surface season 1 and really kind of show how far they could dig with it with season 2 has been phenomenal. And Guillermo too, just to kind of see his growth as character. It's absolutely delightful. Like it's weird to like actually get giddy over a television show on a certain night. Like I haven't felt like that since I was like a kid watching like X-Files in high school. But yeah, I just say there's something so wonderful about the energy that entire cast brings to it. The writing is phenomenal. And I don't know if it's this week or if it's next week, but Mark Hamill is supposed to be on as a vampire. And I never knew I needed Luke Skywalker as a bloodsucker, but I kind of do. So I'm really excited for that one.
You didn't know you needed him as a killer doll either.
I didn't either, but then I'll tell you that Buddy song kind of starts playing and you just kind of can't get it out of your head and you're like, all right, I'm in, I'm hooked.
That's really weird because I didn't really like that movie, but that song, like the other day I was randomly like singing it and I'm like, you are my buddy. And I was like, why am I singing this from this mediocre movie?
I love the Child's Play remake, but
did you really?
I did. I'm actually quoted on the release.
Are you?
Oh.
I am. Yeah, I did. I was not expecting it because I really love the original series. I really thought Cult of Chucky did something really phenomenal. I'm a big fan of what Don Mancini's been doing. I love, that for Cult, they brought in all these different Chuckies. Flat Top Chucky was my favorite. So I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about them kind of doing this, but I think the way that they did it was really smart. And I think the head gag where he wraps it up is probably like the funniest thing, like the funniest but most disturbing thing I've seen in a long time. I don't know. I just had a good time with it. I think it had some interesting things to say. I'm really glad they didn't just do Charles Lee Ray in a doll again. Like I wanted to see something different, and I thought they did. So, but I totally get it. Like I know I've had conversations with people who are very diehard about the original Chucky series, and they're like, "Oh, that stupid movie," and I'm like, I get it. It's like I thank God Point Break has never been remade, is what I'm saying, because I understand how those people feel.
Didn't they remake Point Break?
Yes.
No, they didn't. It never happened.
That was a joke.
I was like, wait a second. I didn't see it either. But.
Yeah, no
one did. Exist. Don't worry about it.
It doesn't exist. So
I think less people saw that movie than they saw the Child Play remake.
I think the Child's Play remake did pretty well, I think, for Orion. So
yeah, I think it made like 25 million, which is pretty good.
Yeah, because I think they had like a $5 million budget, so they were pretty, they did pretty well. So
they would have done better if they gave it to Blumhouse, though.
I'm okay with other people doing horror. Like I think what Blumhouse has done has been phenomenal, but I also like to see I like new cooks in the kitchen every
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't want the same studio keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and being the only successful one, which is why I was so excited about Neon this year. Having such a strong presence, because I feel like in the independent community, it's really only A24. So now Neon kind of can be like A24 now if they play it right.
Did they pick up Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor also?
I think so.
Okay, that movie is phenomenal. So I'm excited to see what they do with that.
Yeah. So back to what you do with the shadows. So I have to tell you that you recommended this. Someone came on. I forgive me who it was a couple weeks ago. Also recommended this show. I started watching it, and it to me, I like it, but it's like unlike the other shows where I binged them. This is kind of like a one episode a night kind of thing for me.
Interesting, because I went through the entire because we didn't have cable at the time it premiered, so I had to kind of catch up with it like a few months after, and we went through the first 6 episodes like in a night. So that's interesting.
Because me and Ashley both had the same reaction. We were kind of like, we like it, but it's like no rush to go through this.
You didn't get to the trial episode, did you?
No.
Okay, there you go. Make your way to the Baron's Night Out trial episode twofer. And it's everything kind of just sort of changes in a really big way. I don't know. Okay. I mean, it's like I'm being totally geeky, but
it's okay.
No, it's okay. But yeah, I think there's some really fun stuff there, and I think there's some reveals that happen towards the later end of the season that kind of changes a lot of the dynamics. So, but it's one of those like I'm the same way with the movie. Like everybody will be like, "Oh, what's a fun horror movie to watch?" And usually the first thing I'll say is What We Do in the Shadows, because at least I know it's like fun, it's light. You don't have to be a super horror nerd to get into it. Even if you just know a little bit about vampires, you can kind of, fall into it. So, and it's got a good heart. So, but yeah, I will always go to bat for that. But yeah, once you get to like episode 6 and 7, like you'll kind of realize like, oh, okay, there's some interesting surprises ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward. Kevin, did you see this show?
I think I had the same reaction you usually. I love the movie.
Yeah.
Love the movie. So I was excited about the show. I watched 4 maybe. And then I actually just forgot about it. It wasn't very good. But when I saw it was coming back, I'm like, oh, right, I should probably go back. Because I didn't hate it, but it wasn't the movie.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the same issue I had with it. Like, it doesn't have that same, I don't know.
There's something about it. It's something weird. Although what's weird is, and I don't know his name, whoever the lead vampire is, super hot in real life.
Is it the one that plays Nandor or the one that plays
longer hair?
Oh, that's Nandor. That is, oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name right now? Holy moly. It's Kaivan Novak.
Yeah, I looked him up. I was like, damn.
Yeah, he is super hot. Because I went and covered the panel at Comic-Con, and I was like, oh, I'm actually sometimes like I find Matt Berry very attractive as well, and I'm just like, okay, what does it say about me? I don't even know. Yeah, but no, I think it's one of those like I mean, I get it because it was like the first episode. You're kind of like you're meeting. It's almost like having to move in with new roommates or something, where you're like, okay, like what's going on, and you have to kind of fall into the rhythm. But I really feel like by 6 and 7, when they kind of get to all the stuff with the Baron, who's played by Doug Jones, like that's when I think the show really finds its rhythm. So it's just probably me. I'm just,
No, you're not alone. I'm telling you, people love this show. I mean, like every week when it comes on, it's like everyone's posting about it. So like maybe, I'll like I said, I got nothing else to do. I'll keep watching and I'll see. This is probably the only time I'll be sitting there watching, giving this many shows chances. So I'll make sure I give it.
To watch TV, honestly, like, because like when you're getting like 2 or 3 major theatrical releases a week, plus you're having to keep up on the indie stuff. Like, it's like I have to sacrifice TV all the time. So I'm actually
100%.
sort of grateful that, like, wow, I can actually take a breath and actually watch things, and be part of that experience that everybody else is having right now with weekly TV shows. Like, it's crazy. I feel like I'm in high school again and it's X-Files time or something like that. Like, I'm like, what's TV like 2 years ago? And now I'm like, wow, give me more TV. So
I feel you. I totally feel you, because I'm the exact same way. So I'm with you, because I was like doing like you did, running to like 3 or 4 junkets a week, going to a screening 4 days a week, writing at least one review in between, doing an interview over the phone, transcribing that interview, writing it. Like, I had no time for that.
Yeah.
I had no time for TV.
And actually, and I see somebody on here who is watching us right now, who is not forcing me to watch it, but as a Star Wars fan, I never got into the Clone Wars TV series. I just told him today that I'm going to start it, so I've watched 2 episodes.
That's another one I see a lot of people talking about, and I've never gotten into the Clone Wars series, but now I feel like I should.
We'll see. I mean, I was kind of like watching and then looking away and then watching. It's a little too worthy for me. Like, I want the character stuff. So when the character stuff happens, and it does at least once per episode, then I'm into it. But then when they start doing like, we got to go get the ship and we got to blow it up, I'm like, I don't care, because I also don't understand what they're talking about, so I put the subtitles on. What are you talking about? Because their names are always weird and whatever. But I'm gonna give it a shot, because everybody says it, and they also say that it leads into a lot of the characters are coming over to Mandalorian. So I want to kind of know what I'm watching.
Yeah.
So there's look at this. This I actually never used this feature, but there's this cool. So
look at that.
So you can actually show the comments on here, which is awesome. I never like, I'm like, look, saw all the comments pop up on the side. I'm kind of like, I never showed it. So
I feel like we're like a fancy TV show here now.
I know. There you go. And Aaron says, hi, Heather.
Hi, Aaron.
And then I'm with the guy who watches all the TV and never sees movies.
Very true.
All right, cool. All right, Kevin, let's move on to you. What's your second pick for what you're watching?
It's funny because I have a second pick and I'm going to talk about it, but you just reminded me that, and can I just say it real quick, just to tell people to watch it, because nobody seems to watch Apple TV, because their shows, I don't know, they're not clicking. And Morning Show, I think, is the only one that clicked. There's a show now with Chris Evans and what's her face from Downton Abbey called Defending Jacob. Yeah. And like Heather, like, I didn't even know what day the new episode started on. Found out it's Sundays. But I was literally chomping at the bit to find out when the next episode was on, because it's really, really good. About a parents and their kid is accused of murdering somebody, and the kid's like 15 years or 14 years old.
By the way, Timothy wants to say this.
He's the one who told me to watch it.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yes. All right. But what I really want to talk about is, so I've been reviewing a couple movies, and I think now, as you all know, we're all just kind of reviewing stuff that's going to VOD because there's nothing out at the theater. So I've been seeing a lot of indie stuff, and there's one called A Good Woman is Hard to Find. Stars Sarah Bolger, who was in Grey's Anatomy, Once Upon a Time. She played Sleeping Beauty, I believe. She's been in a bunch of stuff. She's Irish, I believe. It's a R-rated thriller about a young mother. She doesn't have a lot of money. Her husband just was murdered in front of their young son, who's now gone mute. So she's trying to figure out, like, who killed my husband, and the cops aren't helping. Meanwhile, this guy breaks into her apartment, this drug dealer who's stolen some drugs, and basically forces her to help him sell drugs because he's going to leave them in her apartment, and whenever he needs them, he goes to her apartment and gets them or not. But he's like threatens to kill her, like, or hurt the kids. So to protect her kids, she's like, sure, I'll do what you need me to do. Then the big guy who he stole from is now after him, and then of course finds out she's involved. So she kind of has to go from this like meek mother who suffered a tragedy to this vigilante. But what's interesting about this movie is it's filmed really well. It's really thrilling. Like I sat I was watching in bed and I was, tense and worried for her. But they really focus on character. They spend time they spend time allowing you to get to know her, her dynamic with her mother, which isn't very good. So you really care about her. So when things start kind of going to shit, you really invested in it, and it was really thrilling. Her performance is phenomenal, and I know there's not going to be a lot going on for the Oscars next year if we do have the Oscars at all. So if we do have the Oscars, I'm kind of hoping that they start to recognize these types of performances, because she would be one of the ones I would choose.
Had you seen his previous movie, Road Games, the director Abner Pastel?
No, I have not.
It's really good. It's got Barbara Crampton in it, and I really enjoyed that as well. So I was looking forward to this one as well. I didn't get a screening link for it, so I was going to try to rent it in the next week or two, or try to catch up like by Memorial Day. Yeah. But that's great to hear, because he's a really talented director, and I love her too.
Yeah, I watched like 3 movies that weekend, and that one was like my favorite by far.
Awesome.
I never even heard about it before you mentioned it. I mean, and this is what, this is what the problem is right now, is that people are claiming there's not a lot of content out. And there actually is.
Oh, there's a lot.
And there's a lot of movies, but it's just not the movies that you heard of. It's not Tenet. It's not Wonder Woman.
Yep.
But there's like 50 to 60 movies that have been released from the time we went into this coronavirus captivity to now. And I mean, Netflix has put out a couple like really great films. I know one Kevin did not like. He's like the lone man who did not like the half of it. You did not like the half of it. I didn't. And I don't know why. I did not like the main character at all. But I loved it. I thought it was so good. But Netflix put out a lot, but outside of Netflix, IFC has been putting out movies every single week, and a lot of these smaller companies have been putting out movies. There's a lot to watch. And
well, also what's really kind of cool too about IFC is that they've been putting a lot of their movies at the drive-in, which is so awesome. I mean, right now we don't have a car. So it's like I haven't been to the drive-in in like 8 months, and it's killing me. But like the fact that like The Wretched has done so incredibly well at the drive-in, like good for those guys, because otherwise that's a type of movie that would totally get lost because of the Black Widows and the Wonder Womans and the things like that. Like I think what's at least the silver lining to all of this is that it's a really great time for discovery, to go find those movies you wouldn't normally have time to watch, and sort of, support the filmmakers that often get overlooked. Because I mean, in horror, like, we've got, probably 4 or 5 like bigger movies that come out every month, but the glut of what we cover are these types of films. So it's kind of cool, because nothing is more frustrating to me than when I like do interviews for a movie, do reviews for a movie, and then like 2 weeks later, somebody's like, nobody ever talked about this movie. What's going on? And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I spent the whole week covering it. So at least now, like, these are films that like really have a chance to connect with audiences. And it's nice. Like, I think that's really cool. Like, I would love to see more of like these types of levels of films going to the drive-in. Like, I know the drive-in in the Mission Tiki has been playing Invisible Man now for like 6 months or something. I think pretty much Invisible Man's going to live at that drive-in forever. But I'd love to see them bring in more of the independent stuff. Like,
and they are, because I went to see Raiders, and in the Last Crusade they were playing.
I saw that they were doing that one week. I was so much fun.
And there was a ton of people there. It was the Wednesday, but everybody was social distancing, was fine. But I looked because I want to go this weekend. Now I've seen everything, but I think I'm going to go anyway. The Wretched is playing with How to Build a Girl, which is very good. And Vast of Night, which is really good, is playing with Valley Girl.
Oh, is that already coming to the theater? Because I thought that was, or maybe it's going to Amazon on the 29th. So maybe I got that screwed up.
I think it is now. I think it was supposed to open at the theater, and now
it was.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that movie is phenomenal. I'm sure that's going to play like gangbusters at the drive-in.
Yeah, so I think I might just go check them out. I mean, Valley Girl, I know Scott loved that, and I liked it, but like I'll see him again. Support, get out of the house.
Yeah, I've been wanting to go up there to see Valley Girl, of course, and then also How to Build a Girl, because I haven't seen it since Toronto. So I would like to see that again.
I like that movie. It was cute.
Yeah, it was cute.
Yep.
So, but Heather, I mean, you work in, your specialty is in horror, and you know that there's so many horror movies that come out that really just get no attention at all. I mean, my friend Mark is also who writes for We Live Entertainment. Like, he honestly watches like every single horror movie that comes out, and I'm like, he tells me the name. I'm like, I never heard of these movies. Like, what do you talk about?
It's tough because it's like there's almost like these tiers where you get like obviously the theatrical, and then you sort of get like the upper tier of like the direct to VOD, the ones where you've got Dark Sky or IFC, or at this point like RLJE Films has really kind of gotten involved with a lot of the titles that go to Shudder. They're really good about championing stuff, and then you have sort of like the other films that kind of get lost in the mix, and it's tough because I try to give fair play to everybody, and everyone's like, oh, nothing's coming up. But I'm like, every month there's at least 20 to 30 titles that, we could potentially cover. And, with the other stuff that I have going on, like in terms of like book writing and stuff, like I just don't have the bandwidth to do all of it. I wish I could. So that's why like a lot of times like some of the smaller stuff that might come out like through Uncorked or High Octane or things like that, like I might get to it next month, but it might just be an eventual like end of the year catch up. And you think like with having no theatrical, you think like, oh, you've got plenty of free time, right? No, but I think I've also learned to prioritize things a little bit more these days. And I'm sure you guys are the same way where it's like, I'm making more time to watch TV and watch things that are for me, because you realize like, when you're spending 24 hours a day in your house, like you have to take a little time for yourself. So
100%. I completely agree. Someone actually in the chat gave us a recommendation. I've never heard of this.
I watched part of it. I only watched a couple episodes. I just didn't have the time to continue. But
interesting.
It was interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of it, but I'll try to check it out.
I know.
I'm gonna go back, since we talked about all those smaller movies, and I'm gonna talk about a really small movie that like no one was ever talking about, and that's Birds of Prey, because because it's out this week, and honestly, it's weird because I feel like, again, in our circle, I feel like everyone was talking about this movie for like months, but that must not translate to the real world, where it did not do very well, which is a shame, because I really, really love this movie and I thought it was a blast to watch. I mean, I did not like Harley Quinn and Suicide Squad. So like when I saw the trailer for this movie, I honestly thought like there's no freaking way I'm going to like this movie, because it's based around that character. And I wound up really, really loving it, and the supporting characters as well, especially Mary Elizabeth Winstead in the film. I think it's a fun, over the top, zany, campy action adventure comedy mixed with superheroes and whatnot. But I also love Ewan McGregor in the film. If you haven't seen him, he is wacky and weird in this movie. But I definitely recommend it if you have not checked it out. But yeah.
Birds of Prey is sort of the film that made me realize that it's living when the time that we're living in, it's no time to procrastinate anymore. Because of what I cover, I don't always get the bigger movies. So Birds of Prey was supposed to be my birthday movie at the theater, which was March 17th. March 17th is when everything started to shut down. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like I was like, all right, I'm going to take the day off. We were going to go see Birds of Prey, and we were going to do a double feature. And I was so excited. And then it was like, oh, hey, the world is going to do this whole thing. And guess what? You don't get to go to the theater. And I was super, super duper bummed. But I bought it on digital when it came out a few weeks ago. And I loved it. I really did. It's funny because you mentioned Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and in our house, my other half isn't what I would call a big Winstead fan. And it literally, we went through 2/3 of the movie before we paused it, because I forget, it was like we were getting a beverage or whatever. And I was like, wow, I'm like, you're actually enjoying, Winstead over there. And he was like, wait, that's her. So he actually was like, he got over that. I don't know if it was like a Scott Pilgrim thing or something like that. But he just had a block with her, and it was gone. And I even loved Rosie Perez. Like, that was like, I need more Rosie Perez in my life. But yeah, it's so much fun. It really is. Are the special features really good on the disc? Because I only have the digital, so.
I haven't watched them yet.
Okay.
I haven't watched them yet, but I'm definitely excited to check those out too, because I hope, and this is always like my fear with movies nowadays, is that, you know, like when Cats came out and bombed, I kind of was like, oh no, because will now studios not want to produce musicals, and now female driven, like, obscure characters for superheroes movie did not do well, but I want more of this.
Yeah.
And I'm worried, like, they're going to kind of look at it and say, well, it didn't do that well, so I don't know if we should do another one. But I totally think they should take the risk and do another one. They can do it. If they're giving Aquaman a sequel, they can give Birds of Prey a sequel.
I was not a fan of Birds of Prey, I have to say.
Really?
In fact, I really just didn't like it at all.
How does it feel being wrong, though, on this?
It just felt like it wanted to be a Quentin Tarantino movie, and it was not.
Okay.
It was just too like, we're going to be quirky, and it literally bugged the crap out of me, and I couldn't wait to get out of the theater.
Wow.
Which is weird, because I like Margot Robbie, and I actually like Winstead, and I think I liked a couple of the other people, and
No, you couldn't get into it.
And I had a lot more complaints when I saw it, because my friend who I went with didn't like it either, and he's a big DC person. So I was kind of surprised. I thought he was going to love it. And he was like, I had this issue and this issue and this issue. And I agreed with him, but now I honestly can't remember that.
It's okay. It's all right. I know it's been a while. But I don't know. Me and Heather are on the same page with this one. I just thought it was a fucking badass movie. Sorry. So that's 2 for 2 for you. Heather, watch the half of it next, so we can also tell Kevin that he's wrong on that one, please.
You got it. I will get to it this weekend.
All right. So that was a fun show. So real quick, something that you haven't talked about on this show, but maybe a classic film. What's something that someone should check out that maybe they haven't saw, or just something that you would highly recommend that's maybe a little bit older?
How older?
It doesn't matter. Literally to the beginning of Hollywood.
Okay.
Go for it. As long as you can find it on some format, I guess. Like, it can't be something like it's on VHS and never made it to DVD.
Did I say you know what last time?
No, because we didn't ask this question. I literally come up with a new question every week, and I struggle. But
you know what it is to quick find a picture. I'm going to recommend, and I've been recommending this forever.
Oh boy,
a movie called Clara. Shut up. You haven't even watched it yet.
I haven't, which is so sad, because you've recommended this for like a year and a half now at this point.
I'm like buddies with the director now. We like Instagram chat all the time. He even was like, he goes, why do you like it so much? I'm like, I don't know. It's a drama, came out last year, independent, and it stars, I'm going to forget her name, but I really like her. She was on Pretty Little Liars. Troyan something.
Troyan Bellasario?
Yeah, something like that. Bellasario. Okay. Troyan Bellasario. She's wonderful. Patrick something or other was in Suits.
Patrick J. Adams.
He was in Suits. But it's just this movie about this professor who lost his child, got a divorce, kind of sad, ends up getting fired from his job or forced to take a leave. So he starts doing this project that's kind of a worldwide project where we're looking for other planets that could actually sustain life. And like everybody in the world can do it from their computer. So he starts to do it, but he knows so much about it that he wants to actually really do it and kind of win and find the planet. So he asks for an assistant, and this girl comes along, says, I think there's more out there. I don't need any money. I know it's an internship. I just need a place to stay. So she stays with him. And obviously stuff develops, but it's this beautiful movie about fate and about how we're connected to things, how we're all interconnected. It's impossible to explain, but I will tell you, I've seen it like 4 or 5 times. The last 10 minutes, I'd sob. It's so good. And I literally can't believe you haven't watched it. And I think if it had gotten a wide release, I think it would have been a lot more talked about.
I have it too. I mean, I really need to watch it. I mean, if I can't watch this movie during quarantine, I don't know when I'm going to get to watch it. Yes, so I need to watch it.
I probably built it up way too much, but everybody I've showed it to has really liked it.
Okay. No, I will let okay. You can personally, when we get out of quarantine, next time you see me in a screening, you can slap me across the face if in the next month I haven't watched this movie.
You've heard it, Heather.
I know. I'm a witness.
The world has heard it. This video will stay on the internet forever.
This is the poster. Since you haven't bought, whoops, there it is.
Yep.
So find it. I know you can rent it for like $2.99.
I remember that artwork. That's really interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but now you've made the case.
In fact, I want to watch it again tonight. Maybe I will.
All right, Heather, what's your pick?
So I'm going to go ahead and say true to the brand and pick a movie that just recently celebrated its anniversary. Not a notable one, but it came out on May 6th, 1988. It's one of my favorite sort of buddy comedies from the genre, and it's called Dead Heat with Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo. Yes. It came out through New World Pictures, and when I was a kid, New World Pictures, whenever a movie had it opened with New World Pictures, I was like, yes, all right, I'm in. It's a whole lot of fun. It's got some really great effects. Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo are fantastic together. It's basically, sort of a buddy cop, sort of zombie action-y type movie. Really funny. The reason it was sort of funny because I was looking it up the other day and I realized that somebody who had done an early write on it, getting back to my Melrose Place admission, was actually Darren Star, who would go on to work on Melrose Place of all things. But it's a really fun movie. I don't remember which of the streaming services it might be on. It might be on Tubi TV, but it is streaming out there for free with ads. But it's a lot of fun. It's a really sort of during these times, I like to watch fun stuff. I'm not super into Antichrist or Martyrs right now. I don't want to, I don't need to suffer for my, film enjoyment. But it's a really, really good time. If you've never seen it, if you're just looking for a really fun comedy that just kind of, I don't know, it's really has an infectious likability to it. And yeah, it's probably the only thing I ever really liked Joe Piscopo in.
Huh.
So, I mean, he's fun on Saturday Night Live, but it wasn't like he had a huge film career or anything. So,
can I ask Heather a question?
Sure.
She's a movie horror person like myself. Did you watch Evil on CBS?
No, it was one of those I really wanted to. Did you get a chance to see it?
I was like, it's network TV, so I was like, yeah. I finally watched it. I could not stop. I binged the whole thing in 3 days.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
Really good. Yeah.
I was kind of on the fence because I'm like, it's CBS.
I know. There was a couple of conversations that I was like, oh, kind of surprised.
I was like, is this horror for my grandma or is this horror for me?
No, it actually made me jump, and I don't jump easy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's
good to know. All right, that'll be my next thing I binge. Interesting.
There you go. Got another thing to add to the queue if there's not enough already. But don't forget about Clara. Seriously,
Clara,
don't.
I'm gonna watch it tonight just because of this conversation.
I'm already watching it to the side.
Yeah. She got it. She has
I already queued it up. We're good.
Yeah, we're good. This is a random pick, but honestly, we watched again, like you just said, Heather. during this time you want some comfort food, right? That's like what you're yearning for. So you go back to those fun, dumb movies that you grew up watching and really enjoying. And I watched the other night The Wedding Singer for probably the first time.
Wait, first time?
No, like in 10 years, like the first time in like 10 years. No. I've seen Wedding Singer way too many times.
Okay, phew.
But I've honestly like forgotten why I liked Adam Sandler outside of like dramas, in all fairness, because of most of the Netflix movies, with the exception of that murder mystery movie. I did enjoy that one. But like all those recent ones before that, I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I watched that movie, Wedding Singer, and I was like, how did they not make more musical movies with Adam Sandler?
Right? Like,
because he's so good.
SNL too. Like that was the thing. Like opera singer. He did the turkey song. You're like, come on, red hooded sweatshirt. Like he was primed for it.
I don't understand why that didn't happen. And also like how charming and lovable he was in that movie. Like you really, between him and Drew Barrymore, you really fall in love with both of them.
Yeah.
And there's not so many of those over the top. Like you have Steve Buscemi in it, but like he's kind of like in the background and only appears a couple times. It doesn't have like all those annoying cameos, like what happened like in the later years, where like the people just keep reappearing over and over again throughout the movie. So
stay away, Rob Schneider. We get it. You're funny.
Yeah. In Rob Schneider's defense, I honestly like the first 3 Rob Schneider movies, like a lot.
I don't mind Hot Chick. Like
Hot Chick, I liked, and Deuce Bigalow, I liked.
Okay, so it's Deuce Bigalow. I'll give you that.
Yeah. As Kevin's like,
people.
It was fun. It's stupid. It's mindless stupidity.
I will say that because you say that. Wasn't he in? And I don't like Adam Sandler that much, but 50 First Dates I love.
Yes.
I mean, he's in that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's on the coconut bra and he's like side-eyed or something. I
love that movie. I think it's so charming.
Yeah. I mean, Sandler, that's the funniest thing about Sandler is that if he's paired with the right person, it's really the chemistry that like sells the movie. Mm-hmm. Even if the movie itself is not that good. Because I'm even thinking about like the Jennifer Aniston chemistry and that Just Go With It. Like their chemistry is spot on, which is why Murder Mystery works.
Yeah.
But I mean, him and Drew Barrymore just have great chemistry. But I don't know. I watched that movie and I was like, maybe it's also because it's set in the 80s and I love that time period, but it still holds up and like everything about it it still plays great. So
I still quote it like to this day. There's certain things that I still say, from that movie. And also Angela Featherstone is what's her face is just fantastic. She's such a good sort of bitch.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're supposed to swear or anything, but yeah, she's I remember like when she pops up in Con Air, I was like, oh, I don't like you. You did Robbie wrong.
But that's great. All right. So as we close out the show, first and foremost, I have to tell everyone we're doing a trivia event on Saturday. It starts at 5 p.m. here, Pacific Standard Time or Pacific Time, and then it starts at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And the whole thing is going to be for charities. We're doing 7 different charities that we're raising this funds for. Of course, it's because of COVID-19, and a lot of people are struggling right now. So we wanted to give back and do something fun. So we're having a trivia night. There's going to be a couple guests as well, questions from our members. A couple of our members will be hosts. Tune in. I mean, it's fun. If you don't have money, you could still play along. If you have a few bucks and you want to donate, feel free to donate. We'll appreciate that. But it's going to be a fun night. And come on, take a break from something else and just enjoy it. But that's this Saturday, and I'm looking forward to doing it. And then as we close out the show, once again, let's just go around the table here and say where they can find you and what you do. Starting with you, Heather.
All right. So yes, you can find me over at dailydead.com. I realize I should also mention the fact that I am one of the co-hosts also for Corpse Club, which is our podcast, which you can find over at corpseclub.com. Sometimes you'll find my writings over at Fangoria. And as far as social media goes, I'm on Twitter over at the Horror Chick.
Awesome. I have to say real quick before I take you off the screen, I have never done a podcast with you.
Yes.
But I am going to be bothering you a lot more to be doing these shows because you are phenomenal at this.
Oh, thank you. I'm just fixated when we go to the wide view that you can see the garbage on my island on the side where I'm like, I didn't know I'd be that wide. Okay. I'll clean it up for next time.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin over here, he's always great too.
I like it. Throw me a bone there.
Hey. I didn't even know Heather had a podcast. As you drink your wine, Kevin, I'm talking to you. I'm staring at you right now into my webcam.
$5.99 cranberry secco.
Oh,
from Trader Joe's.
No, but honestly, it's kind of fun doing these shows because you really get to learn a little bit about everyone's personality.
Yeah, did you see this? That's me and Mark Hamill.
Nice.
Oh,
when I was in high school.
That's amazing.
I was a nerd. Still am. Fine.
All right, Kevin, nerdy Kevin. Where can people find you?
You can find me at edgemedianetwork.com. I'm one of the many film critics there. And I do specialize, Heather, in horror. They always give me the horror stuff and anything Star Wars related. And then Twitter. You can try Twitter. You know what? No, don't even bother. My Instagram is Syros93, which is SYROS 93. And I'll just leave it at that.
And I am the weakest link of the show today. I am Scott Menzel. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the other Scott M. Honestly, no, I'm not even kidding right now when I say this. You two put me to shame. One of you should be hosting this show. I should not be hosting this show.
It should be Kevin because he's got the little sparklies floating around his room that I've just been intrigued by.
Oh my God, yes, I noticed that too. I was wondering what that was. Thank you for pointing it out.
I was like, I didn't even take drugs, and I was like, what's going on over there?
I was trying to make the background look more interesting, but because there's no lights, it's usually dark.
No, so what I want to do, and again, this is a couple weeks down the line, but I would love to actually get a couple of you guys together and maybe doing a horror themed episode.
Love it.
I think that'd be fun. So we get Stacy and Shannon and maybe Jimmy and Kevin and God, we have a lot of horror people now that I think about it. We have Matt. We have a lot of horror people. Yeah.
We're everywhere. We used to be the scourge of the industry. Right. Now you can't get rid of us.
No, I know. It's every time. It's it's horror people and awards people. Those are the two categories. Those are the two that you always have to pick. I'm oh my God, another horror person. But you're always so good. All of them are so good. So, all right, guys. Sorry, we were we're going to do this show 45 minutes. Here it is, an hour and 3 minutes. But thanks so much for watching again. Make sure you tune in on Saturday to the Trivia-thon, and we'll see you soon. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.